Right, well, here we are. Welcome again. As promised, back with another video on what? Making the decisions in decision making. So, one quick one, again, as I said, contains this topic of syllogism, subsection, I beg your pardon, of decision making, contains syllogisms, logics, assumptions, interpretation, Venns, and probability. Right, so, as mentioned before in the last video, strategy, strategy, strategy. How it's all about strategy in UCAT. How 90%, sadly, 90% of the students, they don't have a strategy for decision making. Right. So altogether, we'll have 35 question decision making. And a big chunk of these 35 questions, minimum 30% of these questions, minimum 9 to 10 questions will be on syllogism. Number one, 9 to 10 questions on syllogisms, mind you, heavyweight topic. Why? More number of questions. Each question has 2 marks, so emphasis should always be on syllogisms. Emphasis should always be on syllogisms. Out of the 35 questions, 9 minimum will be syllogism. Each question, one more time, 2 marks. Aim should be to able to crack all the 9 questions, 9 times 2. Minimum 9 questions, 18 marks. Wow, that'll take you distance. Righty, without further ado, cracking on to syllogisms. Right, game on. Right, okay. As we said, our strategy throughout would always be we are not bothered about Venn diagrams, too confusing for me and for many others. Right, most of these solutions on any website, they'll offer a Venn diagram or some lame explanation. Righty, okay. Tree diagrams is the strategy. Ready, moving on to UCAT website, question number 5. Here we are, 5. Ready, okay. So, tree diagrams for your strategies, right? So, we made a few rules as we went along. If you watch the first part of this video, which was, I said, key one, when you make the tree diagrams, what's the thing to note? If you're going forward, something this, you are not allowed to go backward. So, that means answer would be no. There are some exceptions. We'll get to the exceptions in a bit. So if you follow going down, you have to go down. Down is good. But if you go back, so let's suppose A is B. All right, get it. B is not A. You can't go back. A is B, going in the direction of the arrow, we agree. B is not A. Agreed so far. That's number 1. Next, some others is looking out for the word some, few, none, neither, either, and so on. Righty, okay, let's crack. Question number this one. All students in the high school, so students in the high school SH, received A in science. So in science they got A. Bravo. Okay. No student in, so in the history part, what happens? In the history part, no student in history received B. So that means if a student did not receive a B grade. Ready? So if there is somebody, senior high school would admit students if they, only if students has got a grade A in history. So history, he or she has to get a grade A. You can use loads and loads of abbreviations. I'm only doing that for the purpose of this video. Right, so looking at my tree diagram here. So what have I got? Students, SH, students in high school. Right, they do science. All right. So everybody gets an A, 100% right. Nobody gets a B in history, converting this tree diagram into casual English. Next, if you want to get into senior high school, what do you need? You need an A in history. Let's start cracking yes or no's. Right, get the cursor. Here we are. Carol, all right, nice name. Studied at high school before moving to senior. That means she must have received a in science and history. Of course, if she got into science, to get into senior, you've got to have history, A, 100% right. And the next one is, what about science? Of course, everybody in science got an A. No two ways about it, definitely. So we totally agree with this one. Ready, moving on, next question. Senior high school does not offer science course. Again, one of the rules, lack of information. If you remember the last video, we talked about a question where he talks about some vans being blue and white. There was no mention of the word white. That's why we said no. Similarly, there's no mention of what senior school offers. Lack of information, big fat no. Monica. Monica attended high school. So Monica attended high school. She did not obtain grade B. Grade B in what? Lack of information. Science, got it. Okay, she got an A, but what about which subject are you talking about? Lack of information, grade B, very generic. Lack of information, no. You see the theme going on. Keep penning down these rules. Keep penning down these rules. You have to have a section in your notes to pen down these rules. Gets life and UCAT and decision making much easier. Helps you to get your decisions correct. Right, no high school student can be admitted to senior school. Very vague statement. Right, okay, because there's a condition. No. So we don't know. Right, absolute lack of information. Big, fat, no. Right, Sam. Right, again. Sammy received grade B in history. Okay, new rule. Did not attend high school. Ready? Okay. If you remember our first rule, we said if you can always go down in the direction of the arrow, you can't go up. Now, and I said there are exceptions. There we go. Whenever there is a negation, means you are trying to say no. That means let's take an example. Science, everybody who's doing science, they got an A, right? Okay. Now, if you did not get an A in science, that means if you did not get an A in science, the negation, which is the negative of that of this arrow, is true. If you did not get science, what will happen? You are not from science school. That means if I want to go backwards, I can only go backwards if I nullify this condition. So one more time. It says senior for schools, students in high school, they get science A in science. If you did not get science in A, negation of this condition, you did not go to senior high school. That is only not only, one of the three cases where we can go backwards, only if there is negation, means a negative, nullifying the statement. Right, so let's see. Right, okay, here we are. Sam received a grade B in history. Negation, most of them did not get history B. So he's saying altogether, Sam received negation. If it did not happen, this is not going to happen. Is that correct? So we're going backwards. When are we only allowed to go backwards? When there's negation, means the opposite is true. So yeah, opposite, we totally agree with that. You got a B, no high school, 100% yes, we agree with that. Ready? So our answers is yes, no, yes. Ready? Cracking, let's see if we are. How many of them we got it wrong? Right, where's that? Okay, clearly visible. Question 1, conclusion, does follow. Yes, we are good. Next one, does not follow. We are good. Third, does not follow. We are good. Fourth, does not follow. We are good. Fifth, bravo. Another 2 marks in the bag again. Each syllogism question carries 2 marks. If you get all these right, you get 2. All 5 right, you get 2. You get 4 right, you get 1 mark. If you get anything less than 4 right, zilch, 0 marks. Ready? So aim to get 5 right, worst 4 right. Okay, moving on. Next question now. Where's the cursor? Cross the window. Right, okay, here we are. Move. All right, here we are. Okay, what are we doing? Back on the pen. Not all people in the literature festival, so I've talked about literature festival abbreviations. Not all people. Now, whenever he says not all, that means that there is a likelihood all possibilities are there. Not all poets, not all people at literature festival were poets. I don't know what's the percentage, but all I know is, so I can't say that what percentage was poets. I cannot even assume this 50-50. I don't know, but all I know is literature festival had people who were poets and not poets. I don't know the numbers. Ready? Whenever he says not all, another rule to know. Anytime he says not all, 2 likelihoods. Ready? Okay. Not all people at literature festival were poets. Got it. So not all. The moment I see not all, draw 2 arrows. Poets. This is a P, by the way, and not poets. Ready? All poets at literature festival were authors. All right, all were authors. Got it. All were authors. All right. So next, some poets were not storytellers. Now the word is some. Next trick. Anytime you hear the word some, you will not use a solid line. You would use a dotted line. I'll repeat. Anytime you hear the word some, this is the one. I'm not going to use a solid line, no solid line. Some means dotted line. Some poets were not storytellers. All right, if some were not storytellers, that means most were storytellers. Is that correct? So, where we are. Quick recap. What are we doing? Syllogisms, of course. UCAT website, question number 6. Right, learning in this question before we start smashing this question. What was the learning? Learning was, anytime you hear the word not all, 2 solid arrows. So poets, not poets. I don't know the probability. I don't know the proportion, the ratios. What was the ratio? I'm just saying both are possible. Right. All the poets were literature festival. All poets were authors. Got it. Next. Then the next learning was, whenever we hear the word some, you use dotted line. Some means not storytellers. That means most were storytellers. Agreed? Most means above 50%. Ready? Some means less than 50%. Ready? Okay, cracking the question now. Ready? At least one storyteller at the literature festival was an author. Yeah. There's a big proportion. All poets were authors. That means all poets were authors. That means anybody which is a poet, whether they're a storyteller or not storyteller, will be an author. So we definitely agree with that. So one more time, he says at least one storyteller. So storyteller has to, so when I have a storyteller, the poet who's a storyteller was an author. We agree with that. Because anything which is here will be an author. Whether you are not a storyteller or you're a storyteller, you will be an author. Ready? Okay, let's see now. So we agree with this one, big fat yes. So one more time, anything with all poets are authors. So poets could be storytellers or not storytellers. So that means whether they're storytellers or not storytellers, both will be authors. So we agree with that. Ready? Big fat yes. At least one author was both a poet and a storyteller. Yes. I know. I'm not allowed to go back, but there will be definitely, if I were to just give you an inspiration from the poets. So do I have poets from the Venn diagram perspective? All poets were authors. Agree so far? There are some other vacant region, empty area where authors can be, other people can also be authors. Agreed. But there is one person, which is a poet, will also be an author. Ready? At least one author was both a poet and a storyteller. Right. So one author will definitely be a poet. We agree. Yes, because not all authors are poets. Not all authors are poets, because we can't go against the arrow. Yes. So from the Venn diagram, all the poets, this circle is a part of the author. All poets are authors. Not all authors are poets. Agreed? Because this empty area, which could be filled up by other people. Other people could also be authors. Ready? Okay. At least one author at the literature festival will both be a poet. Of course, I know authors is at least one author will be a poet. If anything is a poet, he could be a storyteller, not storyteller. We agree. Ready? Okay. Poet could be storyteller or not storyteller. We agree. Big fact. Yes. Right. Okay. All the authors literature festival. All the authors at the literature festival are the poets or storytellers? Absolute not. Poets were this one because authors can be other, lack of information. Authors could be something else. Authors could be poets, yes, we know that. And poets could be storytellers or not storytellers. But there is some other empty, vacant area in the circle from a Venn diagram perspective. Oh yeah, that makes sense. So as a result, we'll say that's a big fat no. Ready? Okay, got it. Not all authors who were poets were storytellers. Not all authors, yes, not all authors who were poets, yes, were storytellers. Of course, yes. There were authors who were poets, which is, I'm looking at this circle. Authors who were poets. That means this circle includes people at the literature festival who were poets and authors. Agreed? So not all authors at the literature festival were poets, were storytellers. So that means you're talking about, oh yes, poets could be storytellers, not storytellers. So again, we agree. So one more time, this circle represents poets who were authors. Agreed. But are all the poets storytellers? No. There were most of them storytellers, some were not storytellers. Look at that. Right. So as a result, we'll say answer is a big, fat yes. We agree. Not all of them were storytellers. Some of the poets were not storytellers also. Ready? Moving on. Answer is big, fat yes. All the storytellers who were poets, so poets who were storytellers, were authors. Agreed. Anything which is in this bubble will be an author. Storytellers were poets who were storytellers, will always be authors. Again, do I have answer is big, fat, yes. So we got yes, yes, no, yes, yes. Right? Okay, quick one. So what was the learning? The wording was not all. Anytime there's not all, 2 arrows, solid arrows. Anytime we see some, dotted lines. Anytime he says poets is authors, oh, the whole of this thing, whoever is here will end up becoming an author. Ready? Okay. Now, let's see how many of them we got it wrong. Right, okay. All the best. So question number 1. he says, follows, we're good. Question number 2, he says, right, question number 2, right here, he says follows, which is good. Question number 3, cursor up. Question number 3, he says not follow, right, we're good. Question number 3 is not good. Question number 4, yes, follows. Question number 5, right. Question number 5, he says does follow, right, so we are good as well. So again, another 2 bags in the kitty. So we've got 2 marks, sorry, not 2 bags, 2 marks in the kitty. So 5 correct, right, 2 marks, got it. Each question carries 2 marks. Cracking on to the next question. Right, okay, one more question. I thought I would be able to. Right, cursor, moving on, next question. Right, so what are we doing now? In this forest, again, do you see here the word not all? So there is a forest which contains D trees, right? Some of them are objects of admiration, and I don't know how many again because I hear the word not all. Remember the learning from the previous question. However, all D's are 20. Okay, all D's are 20 feet, except who is not 20? P and D, which is P, abbreviation, and D. So do I have P and D are not? So we got a forest containing D trees, OA, objects of admiration, not all. Why did I use solid lines? Not all. Next, all D's are 20, and if there's somebody which is not 20, it's P and D. Ready? Okay. Now, moving on to our next question, the question numero uno first. Some object admiration are 20 feet tall. Objects of admiration 20 feet tall. I don't know. I cannot go back. I cannot go back. Agreed. So yes, the answer will be because I cannot go back. On that basis, as I said in the previous video, one of the biggest rules, if you got this one, you cannot go back. When can you go back? If there is negation. Ready? Okay. So we agree. We again disagree. So some objects are 20 feet tall. No, I can't go back, so I don't know 20 or 20 not. If maple is a D, it is 20. Maple is a D, it is 20. 100% yes. All of them are 20. Who is not 20? P and D. All right. Right. Okay. Agreed. Maple is a D found in the F forest. Maple is a D. It will be 20. All of them are 20. Who is not 20? Only 1 or 2 of them which are not 20. P and D. Right. Ready. Okay. Moving on. Not all objects of admiration that are 20 are Ds. Agreed. So not all objects of admiration can't go. All objects of admiration that are 20 can't go back in the arrow. So again, the same logic, cannot go back. So answer would be big fat no. Ready? Okay, moving on. Next question. If a 20 feet tall, so that means 20 feet tall D, is an object of admiration, if you are 20 D, yes, and you are an object of admiration, you can't be P and D. We agree. P and D cannot be 20. Easy as that. I don't know whether there's more than 20 less. I don't know. It's just if a 20 feet tall, we're looking at this one. If something is 20 feet tall, object of admiration, okay, he's saying that. It is neither P or D, of course. The key condition is P and D cannot be 20. We know that. P and D are the only examples of not 20. So again, we agree. Big fat yes. Ready? Okay. Big fat yes. P and D are the object of admiration. Neither the P and D either more than 20 or less than 20. Lack of information. He just said it's not 20. So P and D are object of admiration. Okay, wait a minute. We don't even know P and D. We know P is not 20. It could be above 20 or less than 20. So there are 2 parts of this question. He said they're either more than 20 or less than 20. Is that correct? We agree with that. We know they're not 20. Could be more, could be up. But the second part of the question, he says, P and D are object of admiration. I don't know. P and D is a D. Right. I know, could be or could it not be. So we don't know, lack of information. So as a result, we choose a big fat no on this question. Let's see how many of them we got it right this time. Right, okay. Now, question numero uno. First one, no, we got it right. Second one, does follow. Wow, yes. Number three, not follow. We got it right. Number 4, follows. We got it right. 5th, not follow. I don't bother reading the reasoning. So there we are. So 5 correct, 2 marks again in the kitty. Ready? We'll keep on making the decisions on how to solve decision making. I wish I could do another one. I'm just trying not to make the videos too long. Please help me, give me feedback, tell me if this is beneficial or not. If it is not, tell me how. Again, any questions in particular that you're struggling with, because there are many strategies which I will cover in the courses that I run, and we go through all of them in an enormous amount of detail, all the strategies. Right, decision of the courses, and the details of the courses will definitely be shared with you. Usually I do these courses for students locally, which is, I'm in Leicester, England. So as a result, some of the courses are classroom lessons, some others are online. So those who are not local, online is accessible. I'll share the details in my next video. Bye for now. Ciao, ciao. Have a good one and keep smashing the UCAT. Belling the UCAT. Bye.